What's going on, guys? So we have a fun video in store for you today. You probably saw the video where we hitched up to this Palomino pause with the GMC Denali pickup truck. This truck right here. So that's a half-ton truck with a payload capacity of about 1,450 pounds. On the door sticker that GM puts on the door, the trailering sticker, it says 880 pounds is the maximum amount of conventional tongue weight you're supposed to rest over the bumper. Now, that number, of course, is taking into account the fact that you're probably going to have people, supplies, and stuff in the back of your truck, in the cab of your truck, and that's going to take away from some of your capacity. So you never want all your capacity used for just one function, such as towing a trailer. But you know, we're gonna hitch up to it with a different truck today. We're gonna use the F450. Now, in that last video, I pointed out, and I actually demonstrated in a previous video, that this truck has a lot of tongue weight. It's got more tongue weight than you would typically expect from a trailer weighing roughly 7,500 pounds dry. This has a gross vehicle weight rating of just under 10,000 pounds. Part of that is because of just the construction of this thing. Even though they use lightweight materials, the more you add to a trailer from a robustness perspective, from a structural perspective, the more weight it's going to add. And they've certainly beefed this thing up tremendously. Now, from an overall tongue weight perspective, there's a lot of weight over the front of this. And, you know, when we weighed it, it was right at about 950 pounds, I believe, somewhere in that range. So you got almost 1,000 pounds worth of tongue weight on a trailer that's only about 25 feet long overall, about 20 feet long, 22 feet long in terms of the box itself. And yeah, 950-ish pounds is certainly a lot of tongue weight for a trailer this size. Now, when we towed this with the GMC, I indicated that we had quite a bit of sway. We ran into scenarios where, you know, we had a 40-mile-an-hour crosswind hitting us, and the back of the trailer, you could visibly see it start doing this number. It was swaying, and we'd have to essentially keep the throttle down on the GMC and apply the trailer brake to keep that tension tight between the two, where the truck's pulling against an object that's kind of trying to stop it, if that makes sense. Because if these brakes are being engaged while you're pulling on it, it's going to just naturally straighten the rig out, which is something that you should do in the event of sway. If you have really bad sway, most people slam their brakes on, they try to slow down, they try to do things that intuitively would normally make sense if you're not towing. But once you're towing, once sway starts to happen, what you really want to do is you want to kind of keep on the accelerator, keep on the throttle, and start applying trailer brakes so you keep the tension between the two vehicles kind of pulling the trailer in line with what the truck's doing in terms of pulling. Hope that all makes sense. But that video definitely demonstrated how a half-ton truck really isn't the right truck for this size of trailer. I typically make a recommendation that most half-ton trucks, even in a max tow configuration, really shouldn't be towing over about a 6,000 to 7,000 pound trailer, and you really don't want any more than about 800 to 900 pounds worth of tongue weight. And even then, you want to make sure you have a properly dialed in weight distribution hitch with sway control. A lot of those factors kind of go out the window with this, because you're not going to be able to put a traditional sway control system on this trailer. It just doesn't have the front A-frame section necessary to do it. The actual coupler that this uses is not a traditional coupler as well. It's a rotating articulating coupler, and they put a four-way articulating coupler on here, which complicates things even more. Now, they have told me at ROA Off Road they are able to add a weight distribution setup to one of these trailers. But what the folks at Palomino are actually planning on doing is shifting the wheels back, I believe about 6 inches. I don't know if that's going to be the ultimate number where they settle on, but they're going to shift the wheels back about to there, which should improve your towing dynamics. Now, the challenge here is that's also technically going to increase your tongue weight. So we're currently at about 950 pounds worth of tongue weight, which for your most conventional travel trailers would be a travel trailer at about 7,500 to 8,000 pounds loaded. This trailer is pretty much dry. So yeah, it's a lot of tongue weight, even in a dry configuration. If we have everything loaded up front here, if we had all of our supplies, everything we'd take with us camping, you could probably factor another 200 to 300 pounds on top of that being added to the back of your tow vehicle, which would put This trailer, again, relatively small trailer, it would definitely put it in a realm that most half-ton trucks just wouldn't be able to tow well with, especially considering the fact that you want to have people, supplies, generators, bikes, things like that in the truck as well. So you generally want to factor in whatever your trailer is going to transfer to the truck and add about 900 pounds to that, and that accounts for everything that's going to be in the truck, including the hitch on the back itself, because that all adds weight. Anyways, yeah, that's going to be really cool once we see what the shifting of the suspension does to the overall towing dynamics and what it does in terms of impacting the actual tongue weight on the trailer. For me, I recommend towing this with something at least 3/4 ton or greater. That's my best recommendation. You want to have a truck that has probably upwards of about 2,500 to 3,000 pounds worth of cargo capacity minimum, just so you know you're overkill. You have plenty of strength for the size and weight of trailer, especially with what will be transferring. So an ideal truck for this type of scenario would be something like a Power Wagon. It would be something like a Ram Rebel 2500, maybe a Chevy or a GMC, an AT4 off-road package truck, or even a general off-road package truck, or a truck that's had significant suspension work done on it in terms of 3/4 tons. Now, you could tow it with something bigger, but just keep in mind, I mean, this is a really off-road rated trailer, but an F450 certainly isn't an off-road rated truck. I know they have the FX4 off-road there, but this truck is very long, it's very heavy. The tires just aren't designed well for off-road usage. This truck is not the ideal truck for towing something like this traditionally. But this truck does make an absolutely great platform in terms of handling the amount of weight that transfers over to it. So that's really what I want to show you in this video. We'll do another video where we take it out towing. I don't have that much time today, unfortunately. But what we're going to do is we're going to hitch up to it, and we're going to see how the tongue weight on this trailer impacts the suspension of the F450. I might drive it around here just a little bit just to get an idea, but we'll probably leave the driving dynamics and driving impressions to another video, only because that's going to be a whole video in itself. That's going to be a long video. We're going to take it out. We're going to probably go to an area where we can truly test it, and I don't want to give you, short-term perspectives of what it's going to be like in a video, when the real point of this video is just to show you how the pause impacts the F450 from a suspension and from a weight perspective. So let's go ahead and get to that. The first thing I'm going to need to do is get the leveling system retracted, and that's a very simple process. You guys have probably seen the Garmin tablet that I've shown you in another video. The Garmin tablet is included. It is a smart system that basically controls everything from your lights to your electricity to your all the visibility related to what's going on with solar and batteries, as well as your air suspension. You heard me right, air suspension. But you can also download an app for your smartphone, and the app is the Garmin app, but it gives me the ability to essentially replicate what that device inside does. So I'm going to go to a screen where I can control my leveling system, and that's going to be right here, I believe. It's right there. I'm going to go to manual, and what I think I want to do here is, actually I'll go to auto, and I'm going to retract. I'm going to slide to confirm. Now you're going to see the trailer start to do some pretty interesting things. I hear the compressor inside because it does have an onboard air compression system. You see the back suspension raising. What it's essentially doing is it's taking the load off of the levelers. So they're actually off the ground right now. So if I see, they're off the ground. Now they're withdrawing, or they're retracting. That's going to retract completely. Once those are retracted completely up, you'll actually see the suspension start to drop back down. All right. Now you're probably going to see the airbags drop a little bit. I currently hear it. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Almost there. I think we are almost there. Okay, I think we're pretty much lined up. So I'm going to go back into the app. I'm going to switch this over to manual mode, which it's currently on. Let's go ahead and drop it down and see what happens. Wow, it's already off the ground. I don't think I saw the truck squat at all, actually. Maybe it did a little bit. Let's raise it back up a little bit and see what happens. So you can see where it says airlift above the tire. I'm looking at that section right at the bottom there in the top of the tire. So maybe 1/4 of an inch. Didn't drop very much at all. So that's pretty cool. And again, the front of the trailer is off the ground. Let me show you what's going on over here. Off the ground. This is what the setup looks like. Honestly, it didn't do much to the suspension. Now I know a lot of folks are going to be like, well, obviously it's an F450. The truck has nearly 4,700 pounds worth of cargo capacity. You wouldn't expect it to, but that's kind of the key here. You know, the whole point of this is you want your truck to be so overkill to what you're towing that what you're towing doesn't dictate what your truck does. Now, even the way it's sitting right now, the trailer is going to kind of dictate a bit of what the truck does, because it's just inherent to physics, right? You're towing something that extends the overall length. It's long, it's tall, it's wide, all of that. But it's going to have minimal impact on the truck's dynamics, and that's the key. And we'll be able to confirm or you know, deny this whenever we get on the road. I'm going to be completely honest and transparent with you on how I feel about how the F450 tows this. If it feels weird at all, if there's any sway at all, if I feel the trailer still sways under certain conditions and we still have to use the brakes to get it back in line, I'm gonna let you guys know. I want to show you guys exactly how things happen, how they occur, and how they impact you, because you guys know I'm very, very focused on towing safety. I just want you guys to have a good, confident, and stress-free towing experience as best possible, right? You know, if you choose to tow something like this with a half-ton and you really feel confident doing it, that's your business, but just keep in mind, you're not the only one on the road, and what you decide to do could definitely impact others, especially if you find yourself involved in an accident. Anyways, what I want to do now, which is going to be kind of interesting, is I am going to raise the suspension of the RV, because as you can see, the bags are completely dumped, and the RV is definitely lower in the back than in the front. And this is one of those areas where, because I have this app, I can go into it and I can adjust how the RV sits. We're setting it at 55 psi. I hear the air compressor kicking in, so it's actually filling up the onboard tank, which is underneath the unit. And at 55, it looks pretty dang level. So this is probably where I would want to be towing it with the 450. With the GMC, because it caused the back of the truck to squat about 1.5 to 2 inches, everything kind of needed to lower just to try to make it leveled out. But as it sits right now, actually the coupler heights on the back of both trucks were about equal. It's just the suspension on the back of the 450 doesn't drop at all, hardly, whenever you load the tongue weight onto it. But that's a really good setup right there. And that's probably, again, where we'd want to be when we tow it. Again, I'll be able to change some of those dynamics. I can adjust the suspension whenever we're, you know, driving, or whenever we pull over. If something feels a little off, I can move some things around simply by adding air to the back. But this is just about where I think we would want to be for towing. What do you guys think? Anyways, this has been interesting for me. This is the first time I've hooked up to it with the F450, and I'm pretty satisfied with how everything's sitting, and I love the fact that I can adjust the suspension on the back of the RV remotely, because it's really nice to be able to see everything from the outside and see how level everything looks. And then when I get onto a flatter, more concrete, you know, flat surface, I can get to the back and I can kind of see what the side-to-side angle looks. But this is really cool. And it's not saying that the F450 is the wrong truck to tow this with. It's just the F450 can't go to the places where you could take this. It's just not capable because it's so long and it's relatively low to the ground, and it's just not designed for it. It doesn't have the suspension, doesn't have the tire traction, doesn't have the articulation that you would typically need. But if we're not doing major off-roading, this would be a great truck for it. This would be a really good truck because I know that I have the capacity, I know that I have the stability, I know I have the redundancy to be able to carry this, plus load the bed of the truck up with whatever I want because I have the payload capacity to be able to support it. Anyways, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. Next video that you see where we have both of these together, we're definitely going to take it out towing. We're going to see how this performs, and we'll probably even take it out to the beach and see how it tows over sand. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.